Yes. Welcome to 2-5 Daily. I guess that makes me 2-5. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, review, do all the free things. Do all the good things. And of course, Sports Reports is ordered in the house. Coming to y'all tomorrow night. Reaction to the NFL and college football this weekend. But let's get right down to business. So, of course, when we think about talent in college sports, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about football or basketball, a few states come to mind. Texas, California, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jerusalem, and of course, Florida, right? So, of course, in Florida, you have these big three programs combined, 11 national titles, 5 for Miami, 3 both for Florida State and Florida. And this isn't one of those things like the University of Minnesota who, won titles back in the 30s, Pitt winning titles back in the 70s. Florida's last title was 2008. FSU's last title was 2013, the last year of the BCS before the playoff came along. So, of course, riding high at that time, Florida State had Jimbo Fisher as the head coach. Jameis Winston was winning a Heisman Trophy, and then it fell apart, right? Jameis Winston, I'll never forget that interception/fumble, whatever it was, against Oregon in the Rose Bowl the first year of the playoff. 73 points Oregon put up that day. Then it kind of just went awry. Jimbo stopped recruiting offensive linemen. And then the team just fell apart. Willie Taggart came in from Oregon as a master recruiter, left a lot to be desired as a head coach. We've seen that play out at Florida Atlantic since he's left Florida State. Then Mike Norvell comes in. Rough start, trying to put the pieces together. But then, lo and behold, 11 wins. Last year came into the season with a lot of hype. Playoff hype, is Florida State going to be the team to beat, all this kind of stuff. I picked them to make the playoff. They only went 13-0. Should have been in the playoff, weren't in the playoff. But then we started to see the problems, right? Now, at the time, I was on board with a lot of these players giving the BCS the playoff committee the middle finger and saying, hey, if our results on the field don't matter, then why are we going to come out here and play your bowl game? Don't give a damn about an Orange Bowl. Even though I took the other side as well, because I was like, hey, you got to be rational about it. It was in Miami. It was against Georgia. You have the opportunity to prove that you belong. You had the opportunity to show that you were a real team. Now, granted, I know Jordan Travis was hurt. But what bigger statement could you have made than by beating Georgia, or at the very least playing them in a tightly contested game in your state where people were coming to watch you? But then over time, you realize maybe the culture isn't what I thought it was. I thought it was a sign of unity, a sign of galvanization. It was a sign of weakness because you had all off season to stew on the fact that you were left out of the playoff. And granted, Keon Coleman and those guys are gone. I ain't got to repeat the names. I've said it a million times. Everybody's gone. And you had a chance to come into this season with a chip on your shoulder. And it wasn't as if you started off week 1 with Charleston Southern, who you play later in the season, or Mercer, or Buffalo, or any of these nondescripts. You started the season in a standalone spot in Ireland, in a conference game against Georgia Tech, a team that, not saying that they're a rival per se, but it's always lit when we get together. Okay, you take one on the chin. Game 1, roster turnover, so be it. Then you go out and give up 263 rush yards to Boston College. You get a bye week. You know what? Let's reset. Let's refresh. Let's show the world what Florida State is coming out of this bye week. Because we got lowly little Memphis coming into Doak Campbell. Put up 12 points, 24 rushes for 37 yards. Are you kidding me? And you got Cal coming in next week for their first ACC game. 2-point favorite for some strange reason. Okay, so Mike Norvell's not getting fired. Unless this team wins 2 or 3 games this season. As is, getting to a bowl game would be an accomplishment because you went and got DJ Uyunglele, and I guess you got the ghost of DJ, because, I mean, what is he? 57% completion percentage at Oregon State last year. You just thought that bringing him in was going to revitalize him to his high school self. But even putting him to the side, everybody's dropping the ball. Nick Saban came into practice and said that team is going to win the ACC. So what the hell happened in between now and then, or then and now? Inquiring minds would like to know. But no, Mike Norvell's job is not in danger. We're coming off a 13-0 season last year. Didn't end the way that we wanted it to. But you know what? He's proven that he can win, and he can win big. The problem is now you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because the time to play Brock Glenn is now. And I thought that Brock Glenn should have came into the season the starter anyway. We didn't even need DJ. He came in last year. It didn't look so great. Jackson Arnold didn't look so great last year either. But then again, I mean, he doesn't look so great now either. But the point is that if I'm a high school recruit, why would I come play for you when you're just going to go get some dude like DJ Uyunglele to come in and play quarterback? And then when he's ineffective, you're not even going to bench him. And then you're going to say things like, hey, we played a tough schedule already. Or, hey, he's still doing the right things to give us a chance to win. What is he doing? Taking sacks instead of throwing interceptions? That's what you call giving your team a chance to win? Nah, this team is done for, and this season is done for. The least you can do is try to build for the future and show high school recruits that if you come to Florida State, you have a chance to play. Now, over in Gainesville, there's a whole lot of shit going on over there. Billy Napier came in as the head coach from the University of Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. In 4 years at Louisiana, 40-12 record. He went 16-0 against his division. He won 2 conference titles in that time. He's of the Nick Saban tree. He coached as an offensive coordinator under Dabo Swinney. He got hired by Jimbo Fisher to be a recruiting analyst, even though it didn't necessarily work out that way. So he has credentials. So why is it not working out at Florida? So as I was looking at this, it made me think, do Nick Saban coaches take everything from Nick Saban but the recruiting? Because Nick Saban is the greatest, he's the GOAT. But he was the GOAT partially because he went out and got these recruiting classes. Bryce Young, Devontae Smith, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, the list goes on. So you get to Florida, a school that recruits itself and a place that recruits itself. And what are these players? You got gifted Anthony Richardson one year. That didn't work out. So last year, okay, you don't have Anthony Richardson. Maybe you falter just a little bit. But the recruiting classes have been there. If you look at the numbers. So what's the problem? So I wonder if Billy Napier suffers from what I like to call Tubby Smith syndrome. You remember Tubby Smith. Oh, he was great at Tulsa. He was great at Georgia. He came to Kentucky, won a national title off of Rick Pitino's players, and then it all hit the fan. He went out and got Rondo, but outside of that, not a recruit that's necessarily worth me even bringing up. Okay? So, You try to give a guy time. He's only been there 2 years, but here's something for you. So SEC records the last 2 years, right? Okay, here we go. Kentucky 6-10, Florida 6-10, South Carolina 7-9, Missouri 9-7. You done fell to the depths that Missouri leaped past you. Florida's already lost 3 out of the last 4 to Kentucky. So all that's not on him. But what is on him is that you let a true freshman come into the swamp, and not even a true freshman that had even been playing. This was his first start. We look up and you're down 20-0 at halftime. You got booed during a drunk driving ad. What are we doing? Why is he still the head coach today? Is it the $27 million buyout? That's got to be the only reason. He better not be on that sideline come next year, or the city of Gainesville might look like one of those riots after Trump won the election in 2016. So you look at this, and divisions have gone away. But you still play Georgia every year. You're still probably going to play Tennessee every year. LSU's your rival. So your schedule ain't going anywhere. It's time for the AD to go. The basketball program ain't looking so great either. So the problem is with Florida State is that Florida State relied on the transfer portal just a little bit too much. They got a few hits like Jared Verse and others, Jordan Travis, Keon Coleman. You had some hits in the transfer portal, so you said, you know what? We'll just go into the portal. It's no different than Deion, what we talk about at Colorado. You're recruiting in the portal, but you got to bring these high schoolers in and have a foundation to build your team from. Whereas you look at Florida, on the other hand, Florida's bringing in the high school recruits. So that leads us to believe that it is a coaching issue. But the state of Florida in shambles as we speak, So Miami is on top right now. You got UCF climbing up in the ranks, and the Gators got them in a few weeks. I dare you to lose to them. I dare you to lose to UCF. So then, just like I said last week, right? We thought we were past conference realignment. It's all over. The Pac-12 went out, or the Tupac, when it became the six-pack, they went out and got 4 Mountain West schools. So then we pontificated. We thought about this. What's next? So, I said UNLV and Air Force possibly to the Pac-12, but that ain't make a lot of sense when you think about it, because Air Force has these restrictions. They can't recruit the caliber of player to play in a power conference week in and week out. So that didn't make much sense. So lo and behold, we get reports today that Air Force is in talks of joining the American Athletic Conference. And that makes a lot of sense because you already got Army and Navy in that conference, Commander-in-Chief trophy. So if you're a conference like the AAC, you got to worry about backfilling, right? Because now the Pac-12 is potentially coming for Memphis, coming for Tulane, hell, maybe even coming for Rice and UTSA. So as you start to dwindle, you got to stay alive. And when you think about it in the sense of money, because it all boils down to money, the Mountain West Conference right now only gets $4 million per school off of their TV deal. The AAC gets $7 million. So you're already asking some of these schools to take a pay cut. So what does a contract look like for this Pac-12? So, for example, you got these 6 schools: Washington State, Oregon State, Boise, Colorado State, Fresno, and San Diego State. So what's that TV deal look like? So now if you're Memphis, Tulane, whoever, is it safe to assume that it's going to be more than $7 million? Yes, if I bring myself to that equation, because not only do you get the Southern California market, maybe some part of the Denver market, if I'm Memphis, I bring my market. Tulane brings New Orleans. Rice brings Houston. So maybe we can work with this. But if you're little old Air Force, you're just going to get lost in the shuffle because you don't have the bodies to compete when you get to the attrition levels. So now joining the ACC throws them a lifeline, and now you start to see these dominoes moving around because Air Force might be on the way, but if UTSA and Rice or whoever is on the way out, now the AAC may have to look at the Sun Belt and grab, say, Texas State, our buddies up in San Marcos. So this is just beginning. The Pac-12 still needs 2 more teams to actually become a conference. And I mean, like I said, I think it's a no-brainer that UNLV is one of the teams. The problem is, who's the second team? Who's the third team? And like I said, maybe you look at the AAC to build an Eastern division. You have your East-West. While a lot of these conferences are going away from divisions, you don't necessarily have to, because it doesn't make sense to, especially if you're going to have schools that far apart. If you're going to stretch from Pullman, Washington, aka damn near Canada, down to Texas, you might need to alleviate that by having divisions and regionalizing and making geography a priority. But if you're Air Force, you get conference games with Army and Navy. And even though you have to travel now, if you join this conference, you're still playing peers as far as talent level and teams that aren't going to knock you off the field 48-7. I mean, hell, you saw them the other day losing 31-3 to Baylor. So, Air Force has to make a decision for its survival because the Mountain West may not be here in 5 years. And I know I keep saying it, AFC, NFC, but you're seeing these conferences are starting to, the Pac-12 already left. And even when it comes back, it's not a power conference anymore. The Mountain West, if Air Force leaves, is going to be down to Hawaii, San Jose State, Utah State, New Mexico, possibly Nevada, because what if the Nevada government steps in the way that the Virginia government stepped in with the ACC and says, yeah, you can have UNLV, but you got to take Nevada with you. And you know what? Not that you necessarily want Nevada, but Reno's not a bad fallback plan. So, we're just beginning, and I'm here for all of it. But, check us out tomorrow night. Sports Reports is ordered. We're going to Tuesdays and Fridays now. Except for this week, we're still going to be on Thursday. So, starting next week, Tuesdays and Fridays. Thanks. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, review. Do all the free things. Do all the good things. I'm 2-5. Love you. I'm out.